Good morning. My name is Wally Kelly, and I'm the Health Center Chaplain here at the Moorings. I welcome you this Saturday morning, November 6, 2021, to Chaplain's Corner. On Thursday, I talked about the Beatitudes as given to us in the Gospel of Matthew in the 5th chapter. And we talked about the first Beatitude. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Today, I want to talk about the second Beatitude from the 4th verse of the 5th chapter of Matthew. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. I read a story recently about a woman named Christina Higgins. She's an American woman that lived through the COVID-19 lockdown in Italy. Ms. Higgins is married to an Italian, and she's the mother of 2 children. The family lives near Milan. She was interviewed on television in Italy, and she described how it feels to be confined to the small quarters of an apartment with her children at home. She talked about how the Italian government regulated going to the grocery store. She had to have a signed form in order to be allowed to get into the store, and once inside, she had to be very careful not to interact with anyone. Being very diligent in maintaining the proper distance, the proper social distance from other people. Shoppers were allowed into the store at intervals, with authorities carefully counting to guard against overcrowding. Some of us experienced this here, although I don't know if we experienced it as quite as severely as they did in Italy. Miss Higgins remarked that the markets were eerily quiet, with people quickly going about their business. When a reporter asked her about keeping in touch with others, she said that she and her husband were talking regularly to family and friends. And then she teared up. After gathering herself, she shared that keeping up with friends has a downside to it, because invariably they hear of one of their friends who has fallen very ill. Her sadness in relating her situation reminds us how painful this period of time has been for so many people. Jesus' word and today's Beatitudes speak to a similar circumstances. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. When you think about it, those are really strange words. Why is it blessed for us to mourn? How can that be a blessing? I don't know that anyone has ever said anything like that. But then again, never did any person really speak like Jesus. Why do you think Jesus said this at this particular time? Was it because of the hurting people among his listeners that day? Was it something that Matthew recorded when he was writing his gospel? Because he knew Christians were living through a dark, persecuted time. They were hurting and grieving, and their mourning was acute. Jesus identified with people who were going through great pain. He didn't turn away. He saw the great pain going on, and he acknowledged it. In times of mourning, understanding and empathy are gifts of grace. Speaking of grace, Arthur Ashe wrote a moving and powerful book titled Days of Grace. Ashe, as you may know, was a tennis professional, just a great tennis professional who played and lived with a grace like few others have. As an African American, he did much to overcome the racism that still stalks our society and our country. He did it in a way similar to his tennis game. He never lost his cool, and he was always under control. If you ever watched him play tennis, when he won, when he lost, he had such class that he became a very definition of the word class. Ashe did have his share of troubles. He had a heart attack. His heart was so bad, in fact, that it made him retire from professional tennis. Even more tragic was the later discovery that during a heart operation, Arthur Ashe had been given blood tainted by the AIDS virus. And he tried desperately to keep his illness private. But it wasn't too long before a reporter found out about it and was going to publish a story about it. And Arthur Ashe decided to have his own press conference where he told about his illness and his reasoning for keeping it a secret. He maintained that it was a private matter that he and his family and close friends were trying to work through. However, because this matter was now public, he wanted people to know the truth. He wanted people to know that he wasn't going to be vindictive to the hospital or to the doctors. He wanted people to know that this was simply one of those tragedies that sometimes happen in life. And then he said, I wanted to keep this private for the sake of my family, for Jean, my wife, and for Camera, my 5-year-old daughter. But as he said those words, the image of his daughter brought tears to his eyes, and emotion robbed him of his ability to speak. He just couldn't go on. His wife had to finish reading his press release. Ashe, who soon would be mourned for, was in a strange way comforting those who mourned. I really think the way he handled himself in life, with his health troubles and with his the tragedy of acquiring the virus in the way that he did, I just think he is an icon of this beatitude that we're considering today. We've all been affected in some way by the coronavirus outbreak. Certainly emotionally, if not physically. I was talking to someone today about the isolation that people have been experiencing and how difficult it is, especially among the more vulnerable people in this community. It's our calling to offer comforting words, just as Jesus did, to those that have suffered. I encourage you to take time today to consider moments of grace, generosity, or selflessness of which you've been aware during difficult days, and offer a prayer of gratitude for those evidences of God's love among us. In your prayers, ask God to bring to mind folks you know who need a word of comfort. Consider how you personally appreciate being comforted, and allow those thoughts to influence prayer-guided action plans. Pedrig Otuama is a poet, theologian, and healer in the Corrymeela community of Northern Ireland, a place that has offered refuge and peacemaking during the violent division endured in that country. Pedrig and Corrymeela extend a quiet, generative, and joyful force far beyond their northern coast to people around the world. Let me share one of his poems with you. There are some things that can't be stated quickly. Only history can meet us on the day when our grief greets us. It is only when I've sailed across an ocean meeting you that I can meet you truly. And I see you in me, and the me in you sees through me. You are the place of standing on days when my feet are sore. You are the harbor's landing on days of the waves' roar. You are the arms enfolding when I reject my flesh. You are my gentle breathing when I have lost my breath. This is a prayer offered by Tom Schumann. Guide me, O God, this day. Humility, so I can see you in the most vulnerable. A cup to catch the tears of all who weep. An arm for the long suffering to cling to as they walk through life. A broken heart which can heal those who have harmed me. Guilelessness which looks at the other and sees your beloved, not an object. Friendship which embraces those we are taught to fear. Hospitality which welcomes those who are ridiculed as they shadow you. Words of comfort, words of hope, of comfort, of grace, whispered in the ears of all who are slandered for your name. Amen. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.